Pilates, Kara, and I'm gonna do a chair and tower combo workout. So I have my reformer converted to the mat tower version. If you have a tower on the go or a springboard, some of the things that I do kneeling, you could also do standing. But the way I have my space set up today, I'm gonna do a kneeling when I do upper body tall posture on there. So just know you have options if you have a tower on the go or a springboard versus a mat tower combo. So I am using Stott Pilates equipment today. If you have different equipment, Balanced Body or Pro Beach Pilates or Malibu Pilates or any other version, you just may need to adjust the tension to get the right feel for your body. If you have injuries, issues, stuff going on in your body, I'll always modify for what's going on with you. So I'm gonna start on my chair. I have 2 heavy low and 1 light top on my Stott stability chair. And I'm gonna start with footwork. So I like to sit on the edge of my seat, nice and tall in my posture. And I really do like to be on those sits bones. And then the first version, I like to press my hands into the chair so I feel that nice connect in the back body and kind of helps connect in that posture. And then I'm just gonna press the pedal down and control it up. Your range of motion on the pedal, on the footwork here, or leg pumps, can be as high and low as you can go and keep your pelvis stable. So it should be nice and vertical. And by pressing again into the front of the chair, I'm really firing up that back body and those postural muscles as well. And I'm just heels on parallel here, forgot to say that. So we did something else, that's okay. Dorsiflex feet, pressing down. And then I'm gonna switch to the middle of my arch. I'm gonna do the wrapped toes, still not parallel, but now I got my toes wrapped over like a bird on a perch. So now instead of pressing in the front of the chair, I'm gonna press into the side. And I wanna feel that like T-press, lats really pulling down, shoulder blades staying connected, growing tall in my posture. So I can usually press all the way down without getting the tilt of the pelvis. Usually if you go down too much, you'll get an anterior tilt. And if you come up too high, your pelvis will tuck under and you'll roll back off of those sits bones. You want to stay nice and tall and connected in that core. We'll do a couple more here. And now I'm going to go up to my high heels. So still in parallel without rolling out or locking the ankles, I'm going to stay tall. You can keep pressing into the chair if that keeps you more stable. I'm going to give myself my stacked genie arms. And I'm going to press down. If I can't maintain that stability, then I probably need to press into the chair with my hands to maintain that. Using your breath with motion, never holding it. So the next version can be a little tricky for our brains sometimes to get. I'm gonna hold the pedal down right here so my thighs are basically parallel to the ground. Sometimes putting your hands on your thighs can help you notice if they're staying still. I'm gonna point my toes and flex them. So basically it's ankle dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So the pedal is moving down as I point my toes and my heels are going towards the frame or the wood of the pedal as I pull them up. But my thighs are working. I'm feeling a lot to stabilize as I press down and up. So trying to find the calf, lower calf muscles because our knees are bent, gets the soleus, and all of those ankle muscles. And when I do this in the mornings and any time of the day, I tend to get a little snap, crackle, pop, or I call it Rice Krispie in the ankles. And then I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna bring my heels together, toes apart, and a slight rotation from the hip joint, knees and toes follow. So I wanna make sure I don't over-rotate them and find that Pilates beat. And so for this one, I like to get a little hug-a-tree. So my pedal is up and I'm all connected, I close my hug. And then I'm gonna open as I press down. So again, still pushing and pulling, resisting the tension of the springs. And again, you can have your chair set on whatever spring setting works for you. Sometimes heavier makes it more legs and harder to stabilize your back and pelvis. Sometimes lighter makes it more abs and a different challenge. So find where it works for you today. I'm gonna do 2 more of my little Pilates V here. All right, and then I'm gonna go to, I like to go to my heel cups or my arches and heels V on this one. And then I'm gonna take those arms out in front of me. And this time I'm in that still wide position, just out. I'm gonna lift my arms up as my pedal goes down and pull it back in. So I'm challenging that everything reaches away and then pulls back into that midline. Using your breath. 2, 1 more, and then I'm gonna bring it in. So I'm gonna do that same position on my high heels for a different challenge. Again, watching that ankle stability. And now I'm gonna put hands behind my head and I'm gonna add a rotate. So as I press the pedal down, I'm gonna twist to one side, come back to center, and I'm gonna twist to the other side. Again, trying to separate upper and lower a little bit. So it's not how big can I turn, but how connected while keeping my pelvis pretty anchored. So if you feel a lot of rotation cheek to cheek, you might be going too far. I'm gonna get one more each direction. And then I come back to center. I'm gonna go back to the balls of the feet on, not the wrap toe or the high heel, but just a nice level foot, just on the balls of the feet. And this time I'm gonna take those arms up and I'm gonna do a side bend as I press the pedal down, bring it up, side bend the other way. And again, staying tall and just adding a little lateral flexion. I'm doing one more to each side. And you could always omit the arm and torso movements if you wanted. Okay, so I'm coming back to the high heel Pilates V in the middle. Hands on the front edge of the chair. I'm gonna do a little bit of that frog back with my hips just off the edge. So I'm gonna get super strong in the shoulders, feel the shoulder blades glide down and stabilize. And then I'm gonna slide my booty or my pelvis off the chair. Holding that position, I'm gonna press the pedal down and pull it up with control. So scapula stability, core stability, important. As I do a little hamstring curl to pull that pedal up. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm gonna hold that still. You can keep the pedal at the floor if you need more stability. I'm gonna do a little tricep dip right here. So I'm holding my frog shape still as I do a little tricep bend and straighten. And I'm gonna slide back on the chair. Stepping off of the chair, I'm gonna turn and face it. I'm gonna do a little more ankle articulation. So I'm putting my right foot on the chair and my hands are going on the seat and the edge of my shin is resting against that pedal. And then my back leg can go away. It's just my stable, like I'm kind of in an active plank there. And I'm gonna point and flex the pedal ankle. So again, it's working that deeper lower calf muscle and the ankles, trying to keep that heel straight in line with your knees so it's not rocking and rolling forward side to side as you do this. And then I'm gonna press the pedal all the way down to switch legs. So I'll bring that left shin, so right below my kneecaps, resting at the seat, edge of that chair for stability, abs in, and point and flex. My hands are on the chair, but I'm not putting all my weight on my hands. I'm really connecting in my scapula and kind of a little connection there in that back muscle. I'm gonna do 2 more. Press the pedal all the way down. Stand on it with both feet, and I'm gonna give myself that running or prancing ankle. So I drop one heel, bend one knee, rise up between each one. Not trying to do the hip sway too much, but really find the stretch and activation on each leg. And then from here, I'm gonna step off of the chair. I need to pull mine out a little bit. I realized I got it a little bit too close to my wall. So you can just take a rest while I do that. Okay, I'm going right into the elephant or pike. I'm gonna click my heels together, find that high, that wrapped Pilates stance. Hands are towards the back edge of the chair. Goal is to come up into that pike elephant shape without going way past the chair. So zipping everything up, I'm gonna shift the weight to my shoulders, over my wrist, and scoop and pull myself up, 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 controlling it back down. A shift, scoop, and lift. And I am on the same tension. One more. Pulling the abs up as I round that spine and controlling it back down. From here, I'm gonna put my left foot on the chair with my toes towards the back edge, and then a light touch on the edge of the chair with my fingertips. I'm gonna go into the mountain climber, So I'm gonna shift forward, lift up a little bit. You keep your hands touching the chair on your thighs or into a little genie stand. And then I'm gonna stay in a neutral flat back, hips as level as I can, and bend and straighten the pedal leg, keeping that standing leg stable. 4, 3, 2, and then I'm gonna lower all the way back down to switch. So now I'm putting my other foot, which is right for me, parallel here. I'm gonna drop that left heel for a second. Again, light touch on that edge of the chair. I'm gonna come up so my hips are slightly above my knee. Either hands on the thighs or genie, or keep them on the chair. And then holding as still as I can. Everywhere else, I'm gonna bend and straighten the pedal leg for that little mountain climber move. A little wobblier on this side. I got some hip tightness going on. 4, 3, 2, 1, and control it back down. All right. From here, you could lighten the tension on your chair to make this more core, or you keep it heavier to make it more legs. Really finding what works for you. On a balanced body chair, I usually lighten it a little bit. What I picked here today, I'm gonna keep it where I have it, but you could always take one of the red springs off to make it a little lighter. Standing footwork. So now facing my chair, I'm gonna put the ball of my foot. You can have your whole arch on there if you needed to for more stability, or if you had a more rounded pedal. I'm gonna get my hips level. I'm gonna press that pedal towards the ground and float it up. So my goal is that my hips stay level, and I move from that gluteal fold right where the thigh and the butt meet. You can keep hands on hips if you need to feel that, or you can take them out in front of you. You could add arm movements, whatever works for you, lifting and lowering, opening, closing, trying to keep the abs engaged so the body stays nice and stable. And it's just a standing foot press. I'm gonna float that pedal up, step off, and switch legs. So again, I like to do this on my high heel, but you can have your whole arch on there again. Level in the pelvis. I usually keep my hands on my hips for the first couple to check my core, because I can feel the abs, I can feel the stability, and then I take my arms away, either adding a like hug a tree position or a lift and lower position. Couple more here. And I'm gonna float that pedal up. All right, you can face it either way first. I'm gonna face the camera first on this one. We're gonna do 2 more positions on each side. So I'm gonna stand towards the back of the chair, so more of the chair is kind of in front of me. And here I have a little turnout, or that second position in both legs. Again, I'm trying to find that level hip. High heel or arch. Now I'm gonna try to find high inner thigh as I float the pedal up and down. And again, thinking a little bit more about my thigh moving than just straightening the knee. So I'm lowering that leg. It does straighten a little bit, but initiate from the upper thigh. Core tight. Again, you can do something with the arms to find that connect. And that's our turned out second position, standing leg press. And then I'm gonna stand in a little bit more parallel position, again, towards the back of the chair. And I'm gonna take my outside leg and cross it over. A lot of times people hold on to the chair. If you had handles on your chair, that works too, to get stable or catch yourself. Always save yourself. The chair will be fine if you lose the pedal. Now we're trying to move from that lateral hip to press the thigh up and down. A little crooked. So if you're too close to the chair, which is what I did initially, I was scraping my leg with the pedal, which makes you fall off. So finding all the lateral complex of the hip. And again, controlling the down and up. Abs cinching in to stabilize that spine. As I just move my thigh. And then I'm gonna float that up. I'm just gonna shake it out. And I'm gonna turn around. So finding that a little bit of that turnout, standing a little bit away from the chair. My inside leg finds the pedal away from me. Again, as level as I can. And then I'm gonna press that pedal down and up. Option to add some of that arm movement opening and closing, or lifting and lowering, or just holding it out there nice and connected. Trying to feel the pelvis staying level so we don't add that hip hike. And you can soften that standing leg a little bit. It's a lot about that, stabilizing you as we lower and lift with inner thigh. And then 2 more. And then float the pedal up. Step off like a fist distance between the frame of the chair and my ankle usually works. Again, you can hold on to the chair to get in position if you need to. Depends on if you have a more stable side, which we usually do. And then that little bit of a turnout, I'm gonna pull the pedal down and up that top, sorry, not much of a turnout. I'm trying to find that lateral hip. And I have the whole sole of my foot on this one, not on the high heel. And again, trying to find that lateral hip complex as my thigh bone lowers more than my knee extends. And it's challenging not to shift the hips, and that's what we're working on. I'm doing 1 more, and then I'll float that pedal in. All right, again, you could, if you have lighter tension, this might be a little nicer. We're just gonna do a standing calf stretch to kind of stretch out the hamstrings and hips and my back. So I'm gonna round till I find the pedal, or hinge if you got some back stuff. And then I'm just gonna round my spine all the way down. Just know when you do this, if you can't keep your hips over your heels and you're shifting way back, you probably need to move your feet back a little bit. So I'm gonna do another one of these. I'm gonna round down, flexing my spine, pushing the pedal towards the floor with a little protraction of the shoulders. And I'm gonna articulate tail to head, come up about halfway till I'm in a flat back, looking towards the seat of the chair, rounding, looking towards my shins, pulling the belly up, and then lengthening. Again, if you need to avoid flexion, just do this all in a flat back. Or if you need to avoid loaded flexion, I should say. Two more, this feels good. And then I'm gonna release that and stand all the way up. All right, so I'm gonna stay on the chair for a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go over to the tower or springs. So I am taking one of those heavy springs off, so now I have a heavy low and a light top. And I'm gonna go into a little mermaid. All right, so my top leg, I like to keep it hanging over the top versus up on top because it helps me keep my hips square. So I recommend that when you're doing the mermaid on the chair versus the version we sometimes do on the reformer short box on the short back side. My top leg or reaching leg is dorsiflex with my instep pressing the floor. So I'm gonna stay as parallel as I can. I'm gonna take arms to a T. I'm gonna lower the pedal arm, reach the other arm up, and laterally flex my spine. And then bring it up. I'm gonna do 4 before I counter stretch instead of each time. So I'm gonna breathe into that top rib as I connect in the bottom arm. And then I'm gonna put my spring hand into the chair and the pedal hand reaches up and over for a counter stretch. From here, I'm gonna turn to the back before I do the other side. I'm gonna do a little reverse swan, I call it, or kind of into a teaser. I'm gonna slide my hands back so I find the pedal. You can adjust where fingers in, out, or back, whatever works best for your shoulders. And then my legs are gonna just come up to tabletop. And I'm gonna roll my pelvis down so that I'm nice and connected. You could always keep a foot on the ground. From here, my whole low back and pelvis are on the chair. I'm gonna do a little curl up and back down. So from my upper rib cage, I'm just trying to flex over my sternum. My lower half's not moving. Now, if it feels safe to you, on this next one, I'm gonna come all the way up to my teaser V. Holding my thighs still, I'm gonna roll my pelvis back down, come up to my thighs, and I'm gonna curl to roll it down. Holding my thighs as still in space as I can. I have a little Pilates wrap going in that V. Trying to feel that seat, that butt activated. I'm gonna do one more. Bend my knees to help me come back up. If you have tight shoulders, that may not be an accessible move for you. So you can just hold kind of the teaser, the V there. I'm gonna go to the other side for my mermaid. So now my spring side leg is reaching. My other one is kind of, I actually pull my heel into the chair a little bit to find that connect. I'm gonna lower the pedal arm and rainbow that spine, laterally flex. Keep that foot reaching into the floor. And then come up. And again, I'm gonna do 4 before I do the counter stretch. And then I'm gonna press my hand into the seat of the chair and counter stretch away from the pedal. And then I'm gonna stand from the back of the chair, tucking my toes under, so I'm standing pretty close to the frame. I'm gonna do one more cat stretch, this time from behind, and I'm gonna add arm presses. So I'm gonna round over the pedal. This isn't about pressing the pedal to the ground. It's about rounding that spine and connecting. And I'm gonna bend my elbows and straighten my elbows. To get a little shoulder tricep press, you can change the angle, but you should be looking, kind of trying to see your toes under the seat. Depending on what chair you have, you may change that too. And then I'm gonna keep the arms straight, and I'm gonna lift up a couple inches and down for a little ab press. I'm gonna pull, every time I press the pedal down, I'm trying to pull my belly more away from my shirt or towards my spine. There's a lot of energy in the whole body here. And then coming all the way back up. All right, I'm gonna slide my chair a little bit back out of the way so that my tower is a little bit more in the picture. All right, so I have my arms springs set up. I'm gonna go ahead and kneel. Again, if you have a tower on the go or a springboard, you can totally stand. You can stand for in the knees. I'm gonna kneel just for spring tension and so I stay on camera view. So I'm just gonna come into that high kneel. Doesn't matter if your toes are up or down, whatever works for you. With nice strong shoulders, I'm just gonna do my chest expansion. So pulling my hands towards my thighs and back. So depending on the tension of your springs, you may need to be closer or further from your anchor points. And it's just a lat pull with long, strong arms using triceps. I gaze forward, posture tall. So in kneeling, I kind of take the ankle stability out of it, but my quads and hamstrings and glutes are working to keep me tall. And I'm gonna take this into a tricep press. So I'm gonna pull those arms down and then bend and extend. Still trying to keep a neutral wrist. So when you have the handles, they usually roll a little bit to help you do that. So just bending and straightening the elbows, staying tall in my posture, using my breath. I'm gonna do one more and release. All right, so I'm gonna back up a little bit and take this into a low row. So my elbows are gonna stay pointing in and I'm gonna pull back. So again, depending on the angle of you versus the springs, and mine might be a little high for the kneeling position instead of shoulder height, but I'm trying to get a little bit more of those lower traps. I've been spending more time on a computer than I used to, so I'm really trying to work those postural muscles. So the lower traps help control that so I don't go into shoulders over ears and rounded posture. One more like that. All right, so from here, I'm gonna take it palms up into a bicep curl. I'm gonna hinge back from my knees a little bit or lean into that little bit of the thigh stretch. So like an active plank, my core is tight, my glutes are tight, and I'm gonna pull hands to my shoulders. Depending on where you're at, you could not lean, you could stay upright. You could pull the elbows down to make it a little bit less shoulder stability. I'm gonna do one more and release. Okay, again, finding your spot. I like to start with my arms straight and my springs sort of straightish. I'm gonna do the wide row. So palms are down, tall in your posture. Pull your elbows wide at like shoulder blade height. And it's almost like my thumbs will be coming towards my armpits or the edge of my shirt. So this is that middle back, a little higher row. So I should be feeling some rhomboids and middle trap. So the muscles all between the shoulder blades. And then my rear delts kind of join in on that. Posterior, postural muscles again, backside. One more time. And then I'm going to release that. All right. So I'm going to take my springs now down to what would be more of that shoulder height-ish when I'm on the ground. So I have this Stott vertical frame tower, and so my springs slide up and down pretty easily. If you have the hooks on a balance body, springboard, or a tower on the go, or anything else, you might need to adjust your swing separately. So I'm coming to my back, knees bent, feet flat, nice and lined up. And I'm gonna do the mid-back series or the supine hands. So you'll need to adjust your body to fit where you have your springs. And I'm just gonna start with just lowering and lifting my arms, keeping head and shoulders down nice and wide across the collarbones. So if you feel your shoulders crunching together, take your arms a little bit wider. Breathing in, keep it anchored back and pelvis in your neutral alignment. Just one more like that, making like that eye straight ahead. All right, so you can omit the straps if you need this a little nicer. I'm gonna peel up, articulate up to a bridge as I pull my hands down. So tilting my pelvis, using my abs and glutes join the party, and I pull up into a bridge on the points of my shoulder blades. And then I'm gonna melt it back down, which means I need to control. I'm a little close. You may have to adjust. All right, pressing into those heels. I'm gonna tilt and peel up as I pull my arms down and control it back down. Always good to work those glutes and those bridges, those anti-sitting muscles, so we don't get the dead butt syndrome as we sit at computers and cars. I have some virtual clients, and so I teach them over Zoom. And while I do that, I'm just sitting and staring at the computer, which is something I didn't used to do very much of. Now, I can hold my bridge, or you can keep your hips down. I'm gonna pull those hands down. I'm gonna do another tricep press. So your elbows could be touching your mat or hovering a little bit. Again, your hips could be down, or you can stay in that bridge. So I'm really thinking like laser beams shooting out of my kneecaps. They're reaching towards the opposite wall. So I stay long in that spine, but I'm on the points of the shoulder blades. I'm not up on my neck. Last two. And one. And then I'm gonna rest it down. So now I'm gonna bring my legs to that tabletop. I'm gonna kind of try to connect them. If you're a little wider posture though, connecting your knees may not feel great, so they can just be your feet connected and just feel that energy. So I'm gonna take my arms to a little bit of a V shape, kind of 45 degrees. I'm gonna pull them down and up. So it's like the first move, but a little bit different angle. And now with the legs in the air, challenges the abdominals to stabilize me instead of the glutes. 2, and 1. All right. I'm gonna add a chest lift. If you have head or neck stuff, chest lift is optional. As I exhale, I'm gonna curl head and chest up, take my arms and legs long, and then bring it back. You can keep legs at tabletop. You can keep head and shoulders down. Find your level. If you take those legs on, don't forget the butt. Feel the energy as those legs lengthen and the arms lengthen. And you're just coming up to shoulder blades. It's not a teaser, it's just a chest lift. I'm gonna do one more. And release it down. All right, legs, I'm gonna keep my legs down on this one and just a nice long spine. Pulling my hands down towards the mat, I'm gonna make small circles, like I'm tracing a grapefruit. Or dessert plate, or maybe what the dessert plate should be like. And then reverse. And release that tension. All right, I'm gonna bring myself up to seated. So you could keep the springs where they are. You could come to kneeling. I'm gonna pull my springs down so they're a little bit more shoulder height-ish for me in a seated position. If you decided to stay kneeling, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. So sitting up tall in my posture, if I need to keep my knees bent, feet flat to do that, awesome. If crisscross applesauce, AKA formerly known as Indian style, works better for you, you can do that. Or you can take your legs out long. Now if you start tucking and slumping, you need to bend those knees. All right. So a little serve tray, my palms are up, and I'm just gonna reach out like I'm reaching past my toes. With this posture, my legs are long and I'm pushing my heels in. And every time I press out, I'm tightening abs, reaching and bringing it back. Again, this could be done in a standing posture if you're at a springboard or you don't want to go down to the ground. It adds a different challenge in your stability, seated versus standing. This one makes it a little bit more like when we're sitting on the reformer. Now I'm going to keep my arms straight and I'm going to lower them towards the floor and lift them. This is the presentation. So I'm trying to pull my shoulder blades down on my abs, and as I reach my hands up, I can go chest height, shoulder height, or maybe a little higher, as long as my shoulders don't go up to my ears. So if I start to feel that happening, then that's my height. And this is that presenting to the audience as the ballerinas and dancers do, or the opera singers. One more time. And I'm gonna bring it down. All right, I'm gonna hug a tree. So reach those hands out long, fingertips together, making that O circle shape. I'm gonna open just a little bit and squeeze close. I wanna focus on the underarms. Are you still pushing your heels in and your legs long and strong? Or knees bent, pushing the heels down. Keep that posture tall, keep pulling the abs in. As you feel that movement from the back, the underarm by the shoulder blade. Yes, your chest and shoulders on the front side are working too. One more hug. I never want my arms to get way back behind me to make your shoulder taps on it. All right. Overhead tricep or salute. So you can either bring your fingers to the little triangle or diamond shape, or you can keep them apart. I'm gonna keep them a little bit apart today, and I'm gonna hinge a little bit forward in my posture. So again, if those hammies are talking to you, bend your knees. All right, opposed to slumping. Bending your knees versus slouching in the pelvis. Way better. Pressing out and in. Open or close palm. You can always grip those straps to make it a little bit more form, stable, and neutral. Wrists. I'm straightening my elbows, bending my elbows. Again, if I was standing, I can do the same thing. Sometimes you need to go into a little lunge position. 2, and 1, and bring it down. All right, I am gonna kneel for this one, so if you're standing, that's awesome as well. I'm gonna do some punches. So if you don't like the springs over your arms, you can always flip your grip and bring them under your arms. I'm gonna stay over today. They will kind of cross my elbow, so. All right, so for punches, it's basically a chest press. So I can press out, and again, you gotta find your spot, kind of into a tilted goalpost, and then press it out. Adding some rotation to this, I'm gonna go right arm and turn, bring it in, left arm and turn. Aiming the right angle with those springs. And I probably should have brought them back up a little bit higher. I just have to aim at a slightly different angle. Most of these moves can be done at different heights, as long as you find your connect. I'm gonna do one more side, trying to feel the oblique wrap and twist, and then bring it back. So again, all of those moves could have been done in this kneeling position. I like to challenge my stability sometimes down. All right, a little more side body. I'm just gonna do like 3 moves here. So I'm just gonna do the short lever, rub the belly. So if you wanted a long arm, it could be done here. I'm just gonna focus really on shoulder stability, obliques keeping my body tall as I do the little rub the belly. It's a downward rotation of the shoulder blade. So my pecs and lats on the front and back side are both working to pull that upper humerus bone into my body. All right, from here, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So this is just that nudge the neighbor or unrub the belly. It's a lateral raise. My hand stays close to my body. Again, you could take it as a long lever if you wanted to. I really want to focus on my posture and not go into any compensations here. And then instead of a twist, we've already done a bunch of rotation. I'm gonna do an anti-rotation move. So shoulders are down, hands are lined up with my sternum. If you're standing, this adds even more stability challenge, but I'm gonna press out and in. I call this Charlie's Angels. It's like the Pilates press in the rehab and gym world on a cable column. I'm trying not to move my body. My obliques, my glutes and quads are really firing in to keep my body still as I press out and in. It's a scapular stability move more than anything. Do one more, and then bring it in. I'm gonna turn around and do those same moves facing the other way. So again, you may have to move where you're at in relationship to your spring or your tower. I'm just gonna downward rotate, or the one I call rub the belly. So your shoulder blade is coming up and down with the elbow or the humerus on the upper arm. It's usually about a 2-to-1 ratio. The upper arm moves to the shoulder blade. They do need to glide and move together. And then I'm gonna switch hands. I'm gonna pull the elbow out so that it's kind of like you're about to draw the sword. But a lot of times the springs versus the reformer is a little bit much on some shoulders to do a full draw of the sword. So I'm doing that. Pulling out, shoulders stay level, abs stay in. I'm wrapping up. I moved my reformer tower a little close to the wall to get room for my chair and the camera. And I'm gonna do that Pilates press again. So I just scooted back a little bit, so I'm a little further from my spring, but that way I don't punch the wall. Feeling the core, obliques, glutes, lateral hips, or those glute meads, the sass, the side ass, right? And pressing out and in, scapular stability. And one, and then I'm gonna release that. Again, that was more of an anti-rotation. Okay, I'm taking the arm springs off. So I'm just gonna pop those up high for me. And I'm putting those leg springs on. So usually I'm gonna do some feet in the straps with the tower to kind of finish off. So usually your springs are about shoulder height when you're seated to find where those should go. So like if you're on an actual springboard on a balanced body or even a Stott springboard, it's usually about that 4 or 5, depending on how tall you are. If you're on the tower on the go, or like this, you just adjust it to get it about the right height. If you have it too high, you may have trouble controlling the movement. So laying on my back, I'm gonna put my feet, and I did switch to my leg springs, which are longer than the arm springs, and a little different tension. And then this definitely feels different than when you're on the reformer. I wanna try to find that neutral spine if I can. If you need a little imprint, a little posterior tilt, you can totally take it, but you gotta hold it still. So I can press my hands against the uprights. If you have a low dowel and a springboard, you can hold there. Or you can press your hands against the baseboard or the doorway, or you can keep them by your side. But if you press up there, you're really trying to pull the shoulder blades down and really just anchor in that whole upper half. And then I'm just bending and straightening my legs parallel. You can keep your feet together, which adds a little more stability, or you can keep them apart, which adds a little bit more challenge in that control. Holding not long, I'm gonna point my toes, rotate to a Pilates V, again, trying to zip up all my core. And I'm gonna bend and straighten in and out of the one we call frog, which is a bend and stretch in lateral rotation. You can dorsiflex and plantar flex, or pull your toes towards you to come in and point as you go out. Lengthening. I'm feeling quads and glutes and hamstrings all connect, as well as all the shin and the lower leg muscles. The last one, I'm gonna hold it out low and long, and I'm gonna open just the width of my body. I'm gonna do 8 beats, or click my heels together. 8, 7, inner thighs. And then I'm gonna point and stay as parallel for that again. Now again, you wanna make sure you're controlling the springs and they're not bouncing and flinging, and you really feel that reach, the abs, the inner thighs, breathing. 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna bring it in. All right, I like to do a little scissoring, or just like the lower and lift, but one leg at a time. So I want to think, reach that lower leg long, and then they pass in space. So the abdominals are being challenged to stabilize my back and pelvis. So if you start feeling your pelvis rotate or one side of the hip pop up versus the other, you might need to make it a smaller scissor. But I like to focus on lowering that bottom leg as much as I can. And the top leg comes up to challenge my stability. Inner thighs, outer thighs, glutes, hamstrings, all work when we do these moves. And you might notice I have my hands on my pelvis. I like to feel, because sometimes I don't just feel it, I gotta feel it with my hands. That I'm really stabilizing. Then I meet with both legs up to the top. All right, circles. Again, when I use the leg spring, I like to go the width of my mat or just slightly wider than my shoulders, not how big can I go. If you're on the springboard, the width of your springboard, or where you have your tower straps. Really not much wider than your mat or your shoulders. So you have that control. I'm gonna reverse it. So my lift and lower can still be my normal height. I just don't go over rotated wide. My inner thighs are warm or burning. My glutes and lateral hips are working. I'm gonna do one more circle and then hugging it in, give myself a little release. I like to grab where this hardware and this spring attaches to my strap and pull up for hamstring stretch. Be careful if you grab the springs, because if you pull on it, you might pinch your fingers. And I'm just trying to stretch out those hamstrings. Taking my feet out of there, you can rock and roll yourself up, or you can do a roll up. I'm not sure how warm my spine was, so I didn't do that. Okay, I'm gonna plank around the world to finish this off. So I'm gonna go strong in my bottom shoulder. You can always have the bottom knee bent to make it a little bit less of you versus gravity and still push the top leg in, or you can have those feet staggered. I'm gonna get strong in the underarm. You can use your top hand as a kickstand if you need to, but I'm pulling up the side of the waist. Glutes are firing, inner thighs are firing, shoulder blade is probably the most important. And then arm is down, or you can reach it up like you're in a T, but really pushing and pulling that bottom arm into the side of your body. So you feel all those lats, those rhomboids, the serratus, all the muscles around your shoulders. And then rest it down. Okay, I did say around the world, so I'm gonna go down. You can be on your hands. I'm gonna stay on forearms, just so it's a true around the world. So I'm gonna start with shoulder blades down. My elbows are a little bit wider than what you might think, because I want them in line with my shoulders. I'm gonna tuck my toes, and I'm gonna lift up. You can get there however you need to. You can stay on your knees if you need to. Lengthening, my tail is long, like it's sliding towards my heels. My shoulders are open and stable, crown of the head reaching long. Belly button being pulled in. Every muscle in my body is working. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm gonna lower down, turning to my other side. You can flip around, I'm just rolling over. So again, I'm gonna get that shoulder and underarm connected so that lat really pulls down. Again, bottom leg can be bent. I'm gonna stay in a little stagger. Top hand can be a kickstand to help you get up. Lifting that side body. So that underarm, you're pulling your arm into your body. Your shoulder is down, crown of the head reaching long. Everything nice and connected. And trying to breathe, feeling inner thighs, glutes, quads. The whole body should be connected. If you're slouchy, you can make something cranky. And then release. I did say around the world, so my last one is gonna be a reverse plank. You can do this on your forearms if you have extra sensitive wrists. If you are like me on the tower, I keep it wide and keep them neutral. Forward, some people go forward, out. I like to angle slightly back, just works better for my wrist. Pointing my toes, zipping my core, I'm gonna tilt my pelvis, lift up into that reverse plank. It's where we go when we're gonna do the leg pull back. I'm just gonna hold this position. Just keeping it a little bit simpler today. I would say today's workout is a strong beginner towards intermediate, not too much complex choreography, and options to modify. One more breath. Always make sure you're not hyperextending those elbows. And then I'm gonna lower down. From here, I'm gonna do a nice little spine stretch forward. So my feet are gonna be shoulder width apart, arms out in front of me. I'm gonna flex my upper spine, keeping my pelvis tall, and reaching over my toes. And I'm gonna restack and bring it up. Flexing and reaching. And bringing it back in. I'm gonna do one more. Reach, pulling, stretching, energizing. And coming all the way up. Okay, I am gonna do one more move. I know I said I was gonna finish there. I'm finishing on the mat there. I'm gonna go back to my chair. I left it on that light tension. I need to pull it away from the wall so I have room. I'm gonna do a little protract, retract, a little swan. So a little prone work. So I put my heel of the hand on the edge of the chair and then find the pedal. Your whole pelvis should be supported. Usually those ASIS dip points are just a couple finger widths from the edge, but it'll depend on your leg length to torso ratio. So I'm gonna find my nice long line, like I'm in that plank I was just in here, and I'm gonna squeeze shoulder blades together and apart a few times. Try not to move anything but the shoulders. Now, keeping arms straight and strong and long, my wrists are as neutral as I can. My legs are active and long. You can keep them kind of parallel, but a little bit apart. If you got a lot of SI joint hip stuff, you can totally turn out to give yourself more space. I'm gonna slide shoulder blades down, lifting up, more pressure on my pubic bone. My ASIS bones get a little bit lighter. Crown of the head reaching long, and then coming back down. A mistake a lot of people make here is throwing their heads back. So try not to turn your neck into a Pez dispenser. Mobilizing the upper spine. My lower spine stays pretty still. I'm coming up into my swan, which is lifting that belly to stabilize that deep. But I'm not trying to squeeze all the core in too much. I'm trying to connect a little tilt of the pelvis on a little more on the pubic bone and extending up and then coming back down. From here, I'm gonna put one hand on the seat of the chair, let the pedal come up, dismount, however works for you. And then I'm gonna do a couple stretches here. So I'm gonna put my right foot up on top of the chair, square my hips and shoulders, get the sits bone towards the floor, reaching my hands forward. I'm just gonna hinge, trying to stick that right tailbone out. I feel a big stretch in my hamstrings. This isn't round over, that shortens your hamstrings, so stick the tailbone out. Reach your hands forward or up. And then I'm gonna bend that knee, flatten that foot and lean forward. This may or may not be accessible depending on your height. So we're just getting a little length, high glute, hip flexor on the back leg. And I'm gonna step off and do the same thing on your leg. So heel up, square, hinging, maybe reaching, really trying to lengthen the hamstrings. Reaching up or keeping it down. Finding that length there. You could point and flex ankle if you needed to change wear a little bit. And then I'm gonna bring that leg so the foot is flat and shift forward, trying to stretch that hip flexor. Now there might be a little tilting under of that pelvis as I reach into that stretch. All right, and then step off. We're gonna do a pigeon stretch or like a figure four. So I'm putting my right shin on top of the chair, and then I hop to my left or my back leg away. My hands can just come to the seat, and I feel a glutes and lateral hip stretch. If your knee doesn't like this, do something different. You can bend your elbows to make it a little bit more, or maybe even put your hands on the pedal and increasing in the glute. I can round my shoulders a little bit and not leave the glute and just stretch out my shoulders a little bit as well. If you have tight hips, piriformis or glutes, this usually feels good. I'm gonna unwind and I'm gonna do the other leg. So again, kind of finding an L or your four stretch, squaring my hips, taking my back leg away, hands in front of my shin. Then I can bend my elbows and increase it, or I can find the pedal. Leaning into it a little bit, or flexing if I want to stretch the upper back. Lifting the heart and bringing it back in. And then from here, I'm going to take those hands behind me, interlace my fingers, press them down and away, lifting my heart and looking towards where the ceiling and the wall meet across from me, opening up chest and shoulders. If you spend a lot of time on computers, be sure and open up across there. as many times a day as you can. Again, this was Kara doing a workout from home on my chair and a springboard / tower or my mat reformer combo. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.